Hi there, good day. Welcome to Java tutorial. For today, I'm going to discuss to you a basic programming in Java using Eclipse. So I have already assumed that you have installed the tools that we'll be needing. First is the Java Development Kit or the JDK. So I hope you install the version at least 8 JDK 8 or more than that, or the latest one. And also I'm already also assuming that you have installed IDE. Let's say you have installed Eclipse. So for today, I'm going to use Eclipse. So let's say for an instance, we have already installed Eclipse here. All you just need to do is click on that one, and then you will be prompted with the dialog box. As you can see in the dialog box, it will actually ask you to store all your projects or which contains your classes. So this will be your working project. So the default workspace for if ever you just launch the Eclipse from the very start is this one, Eclipse and dash workspace. Okay, so you can also create a workspace uh, into a specific or a certain drive like flash drive, Google Drive, or any of your partition. So by clicking on browse, you can actually look for the drive you want to create a workspace. So for this time, I'm going to click on Satoshi, and then I'm going to create folder Java programming as my workspace. Okay, so click on create. After that, click on click the open button. So again, all of your classes, projects, and everything that you will be creating will be stored inside of this workspace. So this workspace also will be used for if you are going to like use image resources, it would be better if you store under this workspace too. So click on open. After that, click the launch button. So once you have already clicked the launch button, just wait for a an Eclipse to be launched successfully. So right there, we have our Eclipse um, being launched. So the very first the very first uh, window you will see is actually the welcome window. So this welcome window is actually going to navigate you from anywhere, just in case you want to explore the Eclipse IDE. So review ID, configuration settings, create a Hello World application, create a new project, and even watch or go some tutorials and even sample codes. And then, but for now, I'm going to click on the X button and beside the welcome message. So just click on that, and then you will have here the here your package explorer. Yeah, under package explorer, you will see here the your class collections. You can also see here your Java projects. But before we get to start, I don't want my I mean I used to write programs in the environment where I am comfortable, which is I want this my screen to be dark. So just go to the Eclipse or and then preferences. I don't know if in Windows if it's under like tools or what. So just try to look for preferences and then click on the general and then appearance and then choose on something like dark. So I'm going to apply that. Okay, apply and close. And to fully uh, how do I say this? To fully see the complete change of the eclipse, so you have to restart it. Okay. So just wait for a while. Let's see if there is already an eclipse there. Yeah, there. So let's click on launch again under the same workspace. And then after that, let's wait for the Eclipse to be launched successfully. All right, so there you are. I have already set my theme to in a dark mode. So now let's create a Java project. So again, in Java, uh, the first thing you will need to understand is creating a project. So a project is like a project, well, a project, no? Say, let's say for an instance, you want to create a payroll project, an enrollment project, or a system, so things like that. So for now, let's create a simple project. Let's say basic project, a Java project. So let's say for an instance, basic Java project. Okay, so in this dialog box, by the way, you have here your project name. Okay, so you can get to see where is your default location. So it's under basic programming, and it will be creating a basic Java project later on. So you can actually click on this use default location if you wanna store this Java project to a different location. But so that I'll be able to collate and collect. Manage those uh, projects that I have created in under this workspace. I'll just have to click on use default location. Now for the Java runtime environment, this is a package under JDK. Once you install it, you have here a Java, the is software, I mean the software edition, yeah, and standalone edition rather. So you have here listed with the Java versions. What I have here, Java 16. I guess that's this one is the latest one. So it would be better if you choose Java 8 or I mean, if you install Java 8, you will have only Java 8 here. But then again, since I have installed GTK 16, I can actually use the Java SA 16. So I am going to choose that one, and then after that one, you can also use a specific runtime environment if you don't want to. If you haven't seen any Java SE right there, like you can choose right here, or the recommended, or like I mean a specific JRE, or you can even click this use default JRE. So meaning it's going to be uh, following the default Java runtime environment. But for this time, I would like to use an execution environment JRE. Anyway, if in case there will be an error later on, we can actually choose the use default JRE. Okay, so and you can actually leave all these things right here for now, and then you can tick untick this one so that it will not create a module. So basically the new ones are actually asking you to create a module. If in case you leave this one unchecked or check rather, so it will ask you to create, so just click on don't create. For now I just would like to click on don't create, and then you can actually click on next, but you can actually uh, directly click on the finish button. So let's click on next muna, and then let's wait for this one here. You have here some tabs, the source where you get to see all your classes right here, and then the project, the libraries. So the library is again Java SE16, and then you can leave that one and then click on finish. All right, so now that you have created a Java project already, here is this is SRC or the source. So by the way, under it is the system library under Java SE16. So again, JRE is Java Runtime Environment. So it is where your package library, built-in classes in Java are stored. So if you want to get to see it, you can actually uh, and expand that one by clicking on that arrow. So you have here some packages. No, I mean your Java packages. So if you are going to click one of it, it will actually expand to another Java packages. So it's a collection of, basically it's a collection of packages. So it doesn't matter for now. What we are going to do right now is we are going to create a class. Now in Java, first thing you will have to understand is you create a project. So think of a project as like if you are going to create a system, let's say for an instance, enrollment system, payroll system, grading system, or whatever system you have in mind. So it's where your all of your classes must be as in a certain project. So a class cannot run here in Eclipse, or will not run here in Eclipse if it doesn't have a specific project. And a project is composed of many different classes. So we are going to create a class now. So let's say, let's right click, or you can actually create this C plus button here to create a new class, but to at least I mean, for you to create a class under that package or under this project, all you just need to do is right click on that and then click on new, and then after that choose on the this option class right here. So this is the same icon that I have actually pointed earlier. So here you have here, I mean, click on the class button. Okay, so in Java, the one very important thing to understand um, is creating a class. So the class is the building block of what makes up a Java program. So every time you create a program in Java, it has to be created under a class, or yeah, some other things you can actually create interfaces or other abstract classes, but basically it's something that we can actually say it's a class. I mean, it's yeah. So a class is something that instantiate or creates an object afterwards. Now in here, you will see here under if ever you will be creating a class under in this Java basic Java uh, package library or project. So under SRC, it will be stored right there. But if you want to click on, I mean, to navigate any to any location, you can actually do that. But for now, let's have that one. If ever you have a package, you can actually browse it. But for now, let's leave it blank. And then you have here several modifiers. So for now, let's not talk about it. But this actually modifiers are actually our way to like we have an access no, access modifiers on a specific class, either it's private or package or abstract or it's final, but for now let's stick to this one as public. So you have also right here the uh, methods. I mean, the very important thing you will have to remember here is the public static void main. You have to click on this one. I mean, you have to tick this one, and then you can leave this one blank, or it depends, but make sure to click on this one. But just in case you haven't clicked this one, later on I'm going to show you also. So let's say we click this one, and then here we have created a we will create a basic program. So let's say sample class. So I know that sounds um, not so good sample as your class, but let's have it as sample class, then click on finish. So since we click on public static void main, it will actually include in your uh, class structure. So here in your class structure, you have a, later on I'm going to discuss that one to you. So how about if ever, let's say we are going to close this one. So you just have to navigate this one from right here on the left side. So what if now, as I've said, what if you haven't ticked the public static void main? option. So let's say for an instance, we will create another class, and let's say we have here base my program, and then you forgot to tick on this one. So it's very important as a class to have a public static void main, because that's the main program. So your Java program will not run, basically will not show off output, or will not actually give you an parang achievable output if ever you don't include that one in your program. That's basically where our codes should be written for now. Okay, public static void main. So I mean, in a structure of a Java, you can have many different classes under a project, and then at least you have one main uh, method, right? In any of your class, you are able to run the program and actually create relationship to other classes. So but if since we are only create I mean we are only working on a same class, that class must have a public static void main. So if ever you forgot to tick this one, and after you click on finish, you just find out that you haven't actually include the public static void main. That's very easy. So all you just need to do is actually you can type it. So like public static void main. So make sure make sure you actually what they call this one, the same way it is written. Make sure you also do it. Okay, like let's say args, something like that, or something. If ever right here is the array bracket, or the bracket which implies an array. For now, we we get to consider that this one is a string array arguments. Later on, I'm going to also discuss to you where particularly we what's the actually the work of this one, or the role of this one. So if eventually, if ever you are not able to, like, you mistype the main instead of main, again the your Java program will not actually run. So also later on, I'm going to show you. So actually, the if ever you you don't have the you cannot recall on that public static void main, but I would recommend you have to familiarize this one, because you most of the time you will be working with public static void main, uh, especially because you just started to learn programming, Java programming. If in case you haven't memorized it, you can actually type on like a main, and then control space. So by typing main control space, you can actually select this one, or you can actually select or press enter. So once you press enter, you are able to actually auto it has auto completion code, or like IntelliSense. By just typing main, the program recognizes, or the compiler recognizes, that you are actually you would like to declare a main method. Okay, so again, if you are going to navigate from some my program to sample, right here, you have, okay, so let's say for an instance, uh, we are going to display something, like a simple program, let's say. So yan, system that out that print. So later on, I'm also going to discuss to you that one. So let's say, hello universe. Okay. And then if you are going to run the program, just click on this one, or right click, and then run as Java application. But you can actually click on this one directly. So after clicking that one, you will have here the output, hello universe. Now, if ever you like you mistype instead of main small letter m, something like that, instead of lowercase m main, uppercase main m. So you will actually have an error which is saying error main method not found in class sample. So this will also apply if ever, let's say, you have here main and then you have something like you haven't include the the array, it's the array indication or bracket, so it's still the same. Okay, so it won't give you an error. Okay, if ever you will use another data type, it won't give you an error. I mean, it will not give you an error during compile time, but during the runtime, the program would tell you that there is no main method. So basically, what it has told us that you have to follow the syntax. Okay, so for you to be able to run your Java program. And that's it, no? Okay, that's how public static void main. So basically, let's get to understand the structure of a Java program. So let me expand this one, the view. All right, so okay. But before that, as I have said earlier, what is this? What is the role of this? This is actually comes from like I'm not certain, but let's say let's look for that somewhere. It's there. So let's have run configuration, and then you go to arguments. You can simply type some anything here. Let's say Anna, Marcel, Kelsey, Kevin, uh, Satoshi. All right. So these arguments actually I mean represents the args there. That's why it's args. Args is short for arguments. So once you click on apply, or yeah, once you click on apply and click on run, so if you would like to display those that we have entered from the arguments, you can just simply do this one. So it's an index-based displaying of data. So let's say for an instance, you want to display the first name, the second name, and then the fourth name or whatsoever. You just have to do this one, args0. So it is taking the arguments that you have stored there in the run configuration. So when you click this one and run it, you will have something like Anna and Marcel. So again, as you can see later on, I'm also going to give you a on how to make this one printed to the next line. So basically, this is what is the structure of a Java. So this is what Java is made up of. First is the class. So public means we can access this class anywhere, it means it's a public declaration. So access modifier is public. It can be accessed anywhere in the class, anywhere in the package, something like that. Okay, but in the few or advanced topic that we will be having for this tutorial, I'm going to also discuss to you the other access specifier like private and protected. Okay, so these are actually keywords. So we have public class. So you cannot mistype this one. If ever you mistype that one, it will give you a compile error. Okay. Uh, Also, right here, since we have a sample class, Java actually has what they call this one. Java file is actually compiled by a Java compiler. So as we all know, compiler translate high level language into machine language. Like for an instance, this ones are high level language. These are your code fragments. These are what we normally write, and then these things right here will be converted into a a Java code by our compilers. So these codes will be converted into bytecode. There in Java there are actually six steps in performing this uh, parang stages of or parang phases. So it's going to be the first one, the first stage or the first phase is creating a class file. So earlier we just created two classes, my program and sample. Okay. So in the my program and sample, that's the name of our class basically. And then after that, uh, there is this what we call class loader. A class loader is actually a subsystem of JVM or Java Virtual Machine, which is used to load class file. So what is this JVM or Java Virtual Machine? So as I have said before, JVM or Java Virtual Machine is actually a part of your Java application in your Java, which is make it actually allows our program to run on a different platforms. So that would mean that we can write once, run anywhere, something like that. Okay. We will discuss further that one uh, some other time. Okay, and then after that, so there is this class file. So we get to create a class, and then we have a class loader, and then after that we have bytecode verifier. So under this bytecode verifier is actually it checks the code fragments. No, it actually checks all of what we have written here, whether there are illegal codes or there are violations of the syntax or violations of the access rights to an object. And then the next is after the bytecode verifier, we have the interpreter. The interpreter is going to read the bytecode, okay, and then execute the instruction. And then after that, once there is no error, it is converted into a bytecode, and the bytecode is being read. So this time, it will now execute the program, and then it will now be stored to, or it will be now allocated to a certain location or memory location or memory address. So make sure what I'm trying to elaborate here is that once you create a class in Java, make sure that the name of the class should be the same name under in your uh, package or your project. Why? Because if ever this is like, so you have here sample and you say you change this to sample in lowercase s. So there is a compile time error. So that would mean that the Java this class is not actually uh, located in the Java project. It should be the same. So the way you spell it, the way you type it, the way it is written, it should be this in the same manner. So you can actually do something like, or you can actually right click and then refactor if you want to change. Let's say for an instance, this is hello world, and then enter. All right. So and then click on continue. So notice that the hello the from sample earlier, it is now changed to hello world. So hello world.java, and then this is your hello world.class. So basically you have two files here, the .java, which is hello world.java, and the java hello world.class, which is this one is which is actually located uh, in your in your Java programming folder. So let's see if there is one. Where is it? So I have here Satoshi, and then Java programming, basic Java. So I have here the hello world that class, and then my program that class. And then under SRC, I have here the hello world that Java and my program.java, right? Okay, so do you get it? Okay, I hope you do. So let's go back to our Eclipse. Now, here, going back to our program, uh, next is this one. I have already discussed this one to you. What's the role of this one? So again, to reiterate, uh, the main method is our way to tell the compiler that you are going to execute a certain codes. Okay, so without the main method, you cannot uh, display or you cannot execute your program in Java. So make sure you have a main method. So there are some classes that you don't need to include public static void main, and that is that's something uh, to be discussed in user-defined classes or creating an abstract data type. Okay, so let's talk about syntax. Okay, so let's close all this one and let's create a new class. So what is syntax? Actually, syntax is the format for writing commands, or it's like a rule in programming. The same way with um, grammar in English. Now, in English grammar, you have to follow the subject and verb agreement in order for you to be grammatically correct. Like for an instance, subject and verb agreement. If you have singular verb, you must use and if you have a singular noun, you must use singular verb. Say for an instance, dog is, no, you don't say dog are, something like that. So basically, it's in the same manner. Java has that also that has that rule also, which is we call it syntax. So some of the syntax that Java has is actually this one. So first is excuse me, you cannot start in all of your classes, in all of your, even in your what they call this one, variables and even methods, you cannot name your class, your method, your variable that starts with digits. So basically, it cannot begin with digits. For an instance, we are going to create a class sample, but with number. So sample. So it begins with one as one. So it means it violates the rule. So right here, type name is not valid. So the type name one sample is not valid identifier. So basically, it has a validation in which you actually commit an illegal declaration or mistakes. So basically, again, a class, a method, an identifier cannot begin. By the way, identifier, when we say identifier, is any name you define to a class, so that we speak the same language, no, I would not to repeat all over and over again. So when we say identifier, any name you define to a class, to a variable, or to a method. Okay, so an identifier cannot begin with digit, but okay, an identifier can contain digits. Example, I have here sample, but I will put one after, after the word. So let's say sample one. So this time, it does not violate the rule, which is the first rule is an identifier cannot begin with digit, but it can always can contain digits. So I can write something like that. So I can do some underscore one, I can do two, or say 14344, as long as it does not begin with digits. Excuse me. Another rule is, excuse me, another rule is Java, what they call this one, special characters are not allowed, except, but there's an exception. So what are these special characters? Special characters like exclamation point, ampersands, at, is sure. Okay, but there is exception. There are actually two characters or special characters that are valid as an identifier. So for an instance, I have here at, so directly it gives you an error. So you cannot uh, create a class with or an identifier with at. So even let's say for an instance sample, so the one we have here correct, but sample at it is not correct. If ever you what is that exception? The exception is except for underscore and dollar sign. Let's say for an instance I use underscore. So as you can see, it does not give you an error notification. So you can also do underscore or something like sample. In fact, underscore is used for uh, casing or type casing. In programming, there are actually two types of casing. We have camel case, and then we have also Pascal case. Okay, this is a camel case is actually let's say sample Java program. Sample case means you what they call this one, you each letter of the word should be in an uppercase, should be written in an uppercase. So let's say for an instance sample Java program. So this is something that you will need to follow as a convention in Java. This is not a rule, but it's a convention. Excuse me. Another thing is, let's say for an instance, this is to actually to prevent ambiguity. Yeah, no, none so clear, but so that you are able to have a readable class, readable programs. So let's say for an instance, you have here something like uh, so some most of the normal person or people can are actually or will actually read this one as bookid, but it's actually not. It's actually book ID. Okay, so there is no emphasis, since there is no emphasis on the book and the ID. That's why you can read this one as book ID. That's why casing or type casing is really important. Let's say for instance you start with book and then you do with like something ID or book ID. So at least there's an emphasis on, this is camel case, there's an emphasis on book and ID, and you could read this one as book ID. You can also do Pascal case. The Pascal case is a good example of separating two words with uh, underscore. So let's say for an instance, book ID, book underscore ID. So at least there's an emphasis on the book and ID using underscore. So in our case, you can actually do my sample program in this case, which is camel case, and then so that's why, by the way, that's why it's called camel. It's because it's there's uh, di ba ang camel it's protruding, the back is protruding, so it's like, yeah, it's protruding, naga buktot or something like that. Anyway, so we have here my underscore sample program. So whether whatever you would like to follow, whatever case you would like to follow, it doesn't matter. It's just a convention. Okay. Another also convention in Java is all Java classes must start with capital letters. Okay, so it has to start with capital letters. The first letter of the first word should start with capital letters. That's the convention. That is not the rule, a rule in Java, but it would not give you an error. But let's say my. No, see, it will not give you an error, but it's a convention. So we have to speak the same language that all classes in Java should start with the first letter of the word should start with uppercase. Another rule in Java is you cannot use Java keywords. So earlier we have identified Java keywords. In fact, you can see here listed some Java keywords like public, package, abstract, final, uh, lang, uh, void. Main is not actually Let's try. So main is not actually a keyword. Normally, a keyword in Java, especially here in Eclipse, is um, elaborated with the violet color, violet or something like purple. Yeah. So you cannot use a keywords. So if you want to know keywords in Java, you there's actually a lot you can find in the internet or in some books. But again, in once you get along with writing Java programs, you will discover many of them. So again, the third rule is you cannot uh, use Java keywords. So let's recap. First rule is Java identifiers cannot begin with digits, but it can contain digits. Second one is special characters are not allowed except for underscore and dollar sign. And last but not the least is we have um, Java keywords are not allowed as your as an identifier name. And the fourth one is just a convention, which is as I have said, all Java classes should start with capital letter at least in the first letter. So to at least emphasize if it's a class or not at all. So it's just a convention so that we speak the same language. It's like meta language. Okay, so here I'm going to write sample program. So there you are. I'm able to, again, I'm going to type main. Yeah. Okay, so I guess that's it for today. And um, in the next discussion, I'm going to discuss uh, data types and comments in Java. So thank you guys for listening and have a great day. Bye.